we will be talking to Hilary Calvert about issues that she considers relevant. She wants to talk actually about the state of the Labour Party. She says it's quite dangerous where the Labour Party is at the moment. And she's not meaning that in terms of what they think or what their policies are, but whether or not they can provide an effective opposition over the next 3 years. My God, over the next 6, she's thinking, potentially at all. So we'll be talking to Hilary Calvert about that a little bit later on as well. And also for those, we'll also talk to Hilary about this latest One News Varian poll that you might have seen last night, which shows that a majority of New Zealanders, 52%, and this is really fascinating, and sort of, boy oh boy, David Seymour must have been doing cartwheels when he saw this poll, but hey, he knew this, so give him some credit. And this is instinctively what Winston Peterson and Shane Jones and New Zealand First MPs would have understood as well. One News Varian poll last night showing a slim majority of people, around 52%, were not confident in their understanding of the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi. The poll which ran second week of February, so it's taken an awful long time for this poll to come out, hasn't it? But we'll talk about that with Hilary as well as the COVID inquiry. Should they sack Professor Tony Blakely? Or is the problem not the personnel? Is the problem the terms of reference, which look like they're going to be broadened and expanded? Or is the problem there's an inquiry at all? That seems extraordinarily expensive. But then, how much is the truth worth, eh? All right, joining us now, and as she does every Tuesday afternoon, is Hilary Calvert, former Member of Parliament, former councillor, former lawyer, current businesswoman and political commentator. Hilary, welcome to the show. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Michael.
I was just making that poll. Did you see it last night?
No, I didn't. But what that says to me is that 50%, sort of half of New Zealand, aren't sure what it means. Is that what you're taking from?
Yeah. Well, the Varian poll said that.
Quite a bit. We would usually think that if half of people don't understand it, then clarifying it would be a good thing.
Yes, 12% say they understand it very well, although they're living in Wellington or a university academic. 36% said they know it sort of well, and 52% said they don't know it well at all. And I would have thought,
and I know what they mean by. I'd like to put them in separate rooms. The 36% who say they know it well, and ask them some questions.
Oh, exactly.
See if they all know the same thing.
It's a fair question. The question was simply, how well do you understand the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi? And you're absolutely right. They weren't tested on their knowledge of it. Just give a self-assessment.
And I didn't think there were any principles, which is certainly a view that's out there. Where that leads them, I don't know. Because they don't have any principles. They have articles. But those aren't principles. Those are sort of statements.
And listen to this too. Those groups of eligible voters who thought they were more likely than average to say they did understand the principle of the treaty were: 1, Green Party supporters, Maori and Pacific Islanders, university graduates, people aged 30 to 39, and those with an income of over $150,000 a year. So in other words, in a funny sort of way, most of us we're in the we don't know category. So ordinary tradies, ordinary wage and salary earners, people of 18 to 24 or 65 plus.
So we know what the food come from. We don't know what the 52% come from, but we're assuming it's not skewed in favour of the same thing as the 30-something percent.
No. And the other thing that I find interesting is that poll was taken over 2 weeks ago. It's just been published now. And I would have thought, they could have been sitting on it because they were waiting for a convenient time, but they've had plenty of convenient time between when that poll was conducted and now, haven't they?
Well, that leads us to the increasing disquiet about what they're calling journalist activism. Because the fact that the mainstream media, people's confidence in it seems to have plummeted. That might be too big a word. But certainly it's dropping. Quite consistently, and reasonably rapidly. There's a suggestion that the reason why people don't trust the media is because they've turned into a pack of activists. And so they're choosing, that this might be an example of that. Choosing when to release something would be an example.
And choosing to release that. Yeah. You sent me something, and that was, I think it was something by the Democracy Project, which is it Bryce Edwards runs that? Yeah. And you were making the point about people. It was an article I saw. Perhaps I saw it in my dreams, but I don't think I did. About the kind of people who go into journalism and why they go in there. Did you see that article?
No, I didn't.
See it? Well, I was dreaming it then. I've read it.
I bet they go in to make a difference.
That's correct. That was spot on.
That's why people go into politics. And to make a difference as a journalist, what the difference you should be making is to have people informed so as they can make good decisions about who to support and what to do. Whereas some journalists quite clearly would be thinking making a difference is what politicians mean when they mean making a difference.
Yes, and this was people who had students who were motivated by what motivated them to learn journalism. And it was a survey taken of, as I understand, recent graduates from journalism courses in this country, and it showed overwhelmingly that they entered journalism, quote unquote, to make a difference, to make the world, in their words, a better place. But of course, inherently, as you so rightly point out, well, wait on, who the hell elected you? You've just
make
been
the world
to
make the world a more understandable place, make democracy work better. All of those would be good reasons.
But I guess they're all self-fulfilling, aren't they? Or self-perpetuate. Well, in the sense that, exactly. That's right. That's the proper word. Thank you. But they're all reliant upon a journalist saying, "I have a worldview. This is an accurate representation of what's really going on," and it's the interpretation of the news that we've objected to. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it happens at all bits. So, like, what I sent you through was people who usually wouldn't be taking this particular stance, but they've been making a poster boy for activist journalism of John Campbell, saying he's an example of why it's not a good idea. And this is people like the former RNZ Chief Executive Peter Kavanagh saying removing objectivity from journalism is a dangerous trend in an increasingly complex world. And the blurring of lines between fact and opinion that is driving the growing distrust many now have of the mainstream media. So that's former RNZ Chief Executive. And then there's the current Media Watch presenter Colin Peacock saying Campbell's recent work does kind of cross a line for me. So what they're both concerned about is that journalism, it's not journalism, that opinion compared with fact is a problem. And like you and I talking now, everyone knows opinion. Commentary, opinion, whatever. Probably both of us, if we're saying a thing that we think is a fact rather than opinion, we would say either a version of I stand behind it, and this is where I got it from, or isn't that the case, or that we understand that to be the case, or something. But people aren't confused listening to us to think that we're reporting. They know that we are commentating.
And John Campbell is described by Television New Zealand. Now, I know it's easy to personify John Campbell. I've done it myself, so I'll just step back once from there. But it's Television New Zealand News, the state-funded broadcaster, who employ John Campbell to be, quote unquote, their chief correspondent. Now, I don't know what that latter title means, but Campbell clearly is appointed by his masters, the news editors at Television New Zealand, to do a job, and he's doing it, yeah? And that is being a political activist.
Yeah, and to be a poster boy, because they've now started advertising on TV in particular, and they have their main sort of political commentators and things, and war correspondents or whatever else they are. And they each of them has a wee spiel. You know, they show them each, here are our poster children, and each of them says, we are presenting the news, the real stuff, as it actually happens, as it is. So they're not describing themselves as commentators and people who have opinions.
Opinion makers,
It's false advertising in a very real sense, saying that that's what they're doing. They're not doing what they say they're doing at all. Just a couple of tiddly little examples, sort of how you can screw the scrum without even getting in amongst it, really. There's been various news items recently about somebody going to the Waitangi Tribunal to get them to get in amongst the Maori Health Authority.
Yeah.
And they know that that's not where it's going because the government's going to do something else, and they say that people's grievances should be allowed to be heard, and that's where they should be heard. So they describe somebody as a Maori activist or somebody going to the Waitangi Tribunal. No one has been saying the person who's gone to the Waitangi Tribunal is the head of the Maori Health Authority. Now, that would be relevant to people to think that the person who's complaining about this, the person who's currently on however $100,000 a year, is going to lose their job. That would be relevant to people.